They came in 1945. They stayed for 80 years. That number is now in question. For 80 years, the United States stationed troops in Germany: Ramstein, Grafenwoehr, Stuttgart, Wiesbaden, Spangdahlem. Air command, logistics, intelligence, missile defense, rapid deployment. Not because Germany asked nicely, because Germany was the platform, the invisible foundation of European security. And then came the bill. Not a withdrawal, not yet, but a message: pay more, align more, or expect less. Europe has heard this before. Europe has never had to answer it, until now. But to understand what that means, you have to go to a country that already paid, not in money, in people. September 19th, 2023, early morning, Nagorno-Karabakh, Azerbaijan launched its offensive at 1 o'clock. By the following evening, it was over. 24 hours, more than 100,000 ethnic Armenians fled, in the mountains, in cars, on foot, with whatever they could carry. For 30 years, Armenia had built its security around one assumption: Russia would act. A Russian military base on Armenian soil in Gyumri, Russian peacekeepers in Nagorno-Karabakh, membership in the CSTO Moscow's version of NATO, treaties, troops, guarantees. Russia had troops on the ground. Russia had every tool needed to intervene. Russia did not intervene. Moscow had other priorities: Ukraine, sanctions, Turkey, Azerbaijan, its own survival as a great power. For Armenia, the lesson was brutal and immediate. A guarantor does not protect you because it promised. It protects you only as long as protection serves its own interests. When those interests change, treaties become paper, bases become symbols, alliances become memories. Europe is not Armenia. Europe has NATO, 27 members, Article 5. And yet, for years, Washington told Europe to spend more and depend less. Under Trump, the message changed. No longer carry more of the burden, but pay more, align more, or expect less. That is the real shift. Because once the American presence becomes conditional, every European capital faces the same question. Is the US security guarantee a commitment, or is it a contract? And if it is a contract, who sets the price? Today, it may be defense spending. Tomorrow, trade policy, China, Iran, a domestic election in Ohio or Pennsylvania. This is what frightens European governments. Not only that America might leave, but that Europe has no control over when and no veto over why. Here is what Europe actually relies on, not just troops, the entire architecture behind them. Ramstein Air Base in Kaiserslautern is not just an airfield. It is the command center for U.S. air forces in Europe and Africa. It coordinates air operations across 30 countries. It is the primary hub for U.S. military logistics into Eastern Europe. When ammunition moved to Ukraine, much of it went through Ramstein. Grafenwoehr, near Nuremberg, is the largest U.S. military training area in Europe. More than 30,000 American soldiers rotate through it annually. It is where Ukrainian soldiers received their first Western tank training. Stuttgart hosts EUCOMUS, European Command, and AFRICOM, the generals who coordinate military operations across Europe and Africa. Work from offices in Baden-Württemberg. This is not symbolic presence. This is operational infrastructure, built over 80 years, embedded into European security so deeply that removing it is not like pulling a plug. It is like removing the wiring from inside the walls. Europe spends on defense, but it spends around American infrastructure. Different tanks, different aircraft, different ammunition standards, different procurement systems, different political red lines, 27 armies that cannot yet move as one. Here's what 23 means. Of NATO's 32 members, only 23 currently meet the 2% GDP defense spending target. Germany reached it in 2024 for the first time since the Cold War. It took a war in Ukraine to get there, but spending is not the same as capability. Poland has the largest land army in Europe by headcount. Estonia spends 3.4% of GDP on defense. Lithuania, Latvia, all above 3%. These are the countries closest to Russia. They are not waiting for Europe to decide. They are building now, fast, without consensus. And this is where the Armenian lesson becomes European. Armenia did not replace Russia with another guarantor. It diversified. France, India, EU observers, new channels, not one giant, many connections. Europe's answer is not yet that clear, but the direction is visible. A European defense fund, joint procurement, common ammunition standards, slowly, painfully, against the weight of 27 different parliaments. The question is not whether Europe can afford sovereignty. It can. The question is whether it can move fast enough, because the guarantee, as Armenia learned, does not wait for a committee. Today, Europe faces three problems it did not have to face 10 years ago: a war on its eastern border, a guarantor with conditions, and a defense structure built for a world that no longer exists. None of these are temporary. All of them are structural. Japan offers a comparison worth making. Same dependency on American bases. Yokosuka, Okinawa, Kadena. Same question. What happens if Washington recalculates? Japan's answer: double the defense budget. Build domestic missile production. Rewrite the security doctrine. Not to replace America, but to make the dependency survivable. Europe is beginning to ask the same question, slowly. Germany responded with the Zeitenwende, the turning point. 100 billion euros for the Bundeswehr. More spending, more ambition. But Zeitenwende addresses the symptom, not the cause. The cause is 80 years of borrowed power, and borrowed power can be recalled. Armenia understood this after catastrophe. It is now rebuilding slowly, imperfectly, without the giant it once relied on. Europe is understanding it now, hopefully, before catastrophe arrives. The American presence in Germany is not gone. Ramstein still operates, Grafenwoehr still trains, Stuttgart still commands, but the assumption behind all of it has changed. What was permanent is now conditional, and that changes everything. Europe's problem is not defense spending, it is dependency. 80 years of borrowed power felt like sovereignty. It was not. Armenia waited 30 years for a guarantor that looked away. Europe has been waiting 80. A guarantor that can leave is not a guarantor. It is a liability. Khalid's daughter starts school in September. She has a German passport. She has never seen Syria. The number was never about her, but she is exactly who it was about.